Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Sports Scoop. Today, me and Kian are going to be doing another Buster Boom video. Today, we're doing the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, Cleveland are one of the more exciting teams in the AFC, and they made a couple of big splash moves in free agency and in the draft. We're going to go through all of that. Record predictions coming up soon.
All right, so we did just do the Steelers. That should be posted before this, or that should be at least the last preview that we did post. You said Cleveland Browns. We're going to start with key players. Our key players, and we go over the most impactful players going into the season. These, again, are players that were on the roster last year. We will go over free agent signings and draft. But players who we had a free agent and in the draft, we won't consider as key players yet, but we will include them in that free agency section. But number one, we start with every single team starting quarterback, and they did not acquire one in the offseason. They're sticking with Baker Mayfield, arguably now their franchise guy. In my opinion, I think this year is the deciding year. Surge, this team's a fantastic team. This is a good roster, and it's a Brown. Saying that, if you said that 5 years ago, people would not believe you. It's a good defense. It's an offense that's high running, good running backs, the best offensive line. What does Baker need to do to solidify himself as a franchise quarterback? Because I think impact-wise, you can kind of move that aside. What does he need to do for the Cleveland Browns organization for Stefanski to be like, he's our guy for the future?
I think if you talk to any Cleveland Brown fans, they will say Baker's our guy. I wouldn't have any other quarterback besides Baker because he really embodies that Cleveland spirit, hardworking, that tough. And I think really we saw him significantly improve because I think last year he's the guy, the talents around him, the offensive lines around him, and he delivered, especially during that second half of the season. If he can improve, he can show that consistency over a full 17-game season now. I think he's definitely their franchise guy. I think right now he's proven it by winning the franchise, at least the franchise's first playoff win since 2002, I believe. And long time. And I think he's proven. I think he's proven that he is the franchise guy, and I think if he can build on what he performed last year, he could be a top 5 quarterback and lead them places, maybe even the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so the reason I'm not saying Baker's their guy is because I think there's another step to be had. I think obviously 100%. Fantastic, and the big reason why I think Browns fans are like, okay, he's our guy is because he didn't have more than 10 or he had 8 interceptions, where the year before he had 21, and then his rookie year he had 14. His least amount of yards in his career so far with 3,563, 62% completion percentage, which isn't fantastic. You would like to see that get up closer to 70. Look, I mean, I think there's another step. I think he can have that Josh Allen-like step. Some people have him in their top 10. I don't personally. I think, depending, again, I would have to revise my list. But look, it's about, can you get into that 35-plus touchdown kind of thing, or at least 30-plus touchdown, because then when quarterbacks are throwing that much more, it's just a different type of production for an offense. Obviously, you have Nick Chubb, and I know they hand the ball to Nick Chubb so much, so it's not giving Mayfield as much attempts or as much, time. They're not giving him as much snaps when throwing the ball as they would, if he was on a different organization, because the Browns are very, very much run-heavy offense. Obviously, with that offensive line, why wouldn't you be? And you have Kareem Hunt, so you have 2 very, very good running backs, possibly the best duo. And to me, Baker Mayfield take another step. I think he was fantastic last year. I think what really separated him, again, he didn't throw that many interceptions, and he was good in playoff games. Bodied out the way the Steelers, and I know that's not a very analytical term, but he did fantastic against the Steelers team that obviously at that point they weren't that good anymore, but they were in the playoffs, but they had kind of slowed down. Yeah, so I think, Baker Mayfield, go take a step. You have the pieces. There's nothing in your way. Although it's a very hard division, I will give him that. I think it's a division that the Browns can win. We'll get into that more. Let's move on to their workhorse running back, Nick Chubb, Surge. Fantastic, fantastic player. I can say that now. I was holding back and saying that for Baker Mayfield, but I know this guy is at least a top 6 guy. I'd say he's 6. Great offensive line. Does he have anything to lose? What's your outlook for him?
Oh, I think he's easy. I think as long as he stays healthy, which hopefully he does for most NFL neutral fans, I think he easily gets 1,000 yards, I say barring injuries. I think, again, he has one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. He has Conklin and Wills as his tackles. He has Shredder, Antonio. They have some of the best run blockers in the NFL. And I think that Nick Chubb is one of the best running backs in the National Football League. He's one of the best power backs. He would be actually one of my favorites for rushing champion for the most yards this season in the NFL, and especially considering how good of a cast he has around him to be that RB number 1 with the amazing with the amazing system around him. Yeah, I think the outlook is very good for him with a run-first offense. I think if the Browns are going to be in the playoffs, I think he's going to be their MVP. He's going to be the most important guy, the catalyst for why the Browns are going to be in the playoffs, and take a similar role to maybe Derrick Henry in Tennessee.
Yeah, again, a bruiser back. Really, really kind of we saw him step out of that potential receiving more dual back, I guess, obviously with bringing Kareem Hunt. But as I've been saying, it's more favorable now in offenses to have a running back by committee, tight end by committee, kind of having those cores where you have several good players you can kind of rotate around. We've seen, teams start to do that, obviously with the Lions, who we did, bringing Jamal Williams. We've seen teams kind of bring in players that are questionable, but Nick Chubb to me is just the classic, as you said, someone who gets so many attempts. Like so 2020 he was injured for a little bit. 2019 was his, I would say his best season, but he had 12 touchdowns this year, 8 touchdowns the year prior, 1,500 yards, 298 attempts. You could be, if he stays healthy, getting 300 plus. Because I think the Browns offense has now started to realize, okay, Kareem Hunt should probably be not solely used as a receiving back, but we're going to give most of our snaps, most of our running staff, most of our inside zone, outside plays to Nick Chubb because we know he has the speed. He's someone who I've talked about all the elite backs, someone who doesn't get tackled. And it shows how good he is because I would say he's a top 5 back, top 6 back, and that top 6 is so, so good. So it just shows the kind of caliber he is only at 25. And like you said, I think he will be the catalyst. I think that's a great word, the catalyst for why the Browns do well. And again, this offensive line, who we won't touch on for key players. We know how fantastic they are, arguably the best in the league, at least either them or the Colts. It's what either of them.
Give or take.
So I think Nick Chubb, impact player. I think the definition of a key player for a Browns team. But Serge, like we did in the Steelers one, we're going to talk about not just one wide receiver. We're going to talk about that kind of duo over there in Cleveland with Jarvis, Landry, and Odell Beckham. For the Steelers, we talk about that trio with Claypool, Deontay Johnson, and Smith-Schuster. If you were to give an outlook on what do both of these guys need to do to give success to that receiving game, when we don't talk about the tight ends. But, what do you think?
Yeah, I think with the wide receiving core, I think Odell, he might have a slower start of the season considering, again, he is coming off a torn ACL, and obviously that can lead to a bit of rust or maybe not, will be a step slower, especially this season. But I think, honestly, I'm not expecting too much because the leading receiver, if I'm not mistaken, was Landry with 72 receptions, 840 yards, and that's not bad necessarily, but that definitely isn't, insane for a wide receiver number one. And I don't expect any of the Browns receivers to crack 1,000 yards because I think what Baker loves to do is he loves to spread the ball out to his spread it to a lot of his weapons, whether it's obviously those two, if it's Donovan Peoples-Jones, if it's Austin Hooper, if it's David Njoku, even if he wasn't very healthy last season. I really think, or Harrison Bryant, another tight end. I think with the wide receiver duo, I think obviously there are a lot of talent. Everyone expects, they're going to be one of the best duos in the league. But that's not really how Baker operates. I think he operates more on someone who he's not really going to care about ego. Baker's not really going to care about, you're the wide receiver one, so I have to throw the ball to you 10 times a game so you get those stats that you help us win. He wants to get it to the most open receiver. He likes to go through his progression. He likes to spread the ball and keep the defense guessing. So my outlook for these two guys is that they'll have obviously solid seasons given that they are very, very talented receivers, but I don't expect them to be incredible numbers wise.
Yeah, I think what this Browns offense is really good at doing, especially those wide receivers, is help Baker be a game manager. And I think that's one of the highlights. That's what Baker's really, really good at, is managing a game, especially what we saw from last year, especially in that playoff game. And what these wide receivers do really well is, as you said, Landry is fantastic at getting open, and Odell is really good and underrated. He has that speed that really no one talks about to get downfield and get those chunk play touchdowns as well. When Odell Beckham's healthy, I've been saying that this guy's a top 10 receiver. He has very good route running and the best, not the best hand in the NFL, but he has just as good hands as any other receiver. Obviously, a lot of people are saying, well, if he didn't have that, I'm a Giants fan, if he didn't have that one-handed catch, he wouldn't be as good as he is now, which, again, maybe not. But he's there and he's a good receiver. I think Landry will step into that wide receiver one role now because we saw how much more comfortable, first of all, Baker was and how much more successful they were when Landry was the main guy and when obviously Odell went out the ACL injury. And in terms of kind of target share, when when Odell was there, the problem with Baker is he felt he had to force the ball to Odell, and that's why he ended up throwing 24 interceptions not last year, the year before. So I think, again, it's a wide receiving core that's very good at helping him be a game manager, and I think that they will take that step. Again, I would have liked to see them maybe bring in another younger guy. I'm not sure they drafted. Obviously, you said Peoples-Jones is in there who could, maybe get a step up. But let's now move on to the defensive side of the ball. We have two key players. We know this defense is very stacked. We know they brought in a lot of people, but again, we don't want this to be like a 50-minute video. So do bear with us. Let us know what you got. We'll always talk to you guys about it in the comments down below. But number one, Serge, Denzel Ward, one of my favorite defensive backs, one of my favorite corners in the league, out of Ohio State, really has been injured, has not been, kind of there, I guess, at the end of the day for the Browns. If he is there, and we think he will be, how does he defend against some of the best receivers in the NFL?
I think Denzel Ward has kind of been robbed of his last few seasons, given that he's had a lot of lingering injuries that really has kept him off the field for half the season after a very, very promising rookie season. I think hopefully that if he does avoid the injury bug in 2021, I think he can be easily a top 5 cornerback in the NFL. And I know that's a bit lofty, but those two I feel like are untouchable. I think these are easily the two best cornerbacks in the National Football League. But in terms of other guys, I feel like he can really match for his talent and match for IQ as a cornerback. And I think he can really play in a man. He can play in zone. I think he comes from Ohio State, which has a list of very, very accomplished, very, very good cornerbacks like Marshawn Lattimore of the New Orleans Saints. Mm-hmm. So I actually think Jeff Okudah, of course. I think Denzel Ward could really have a very, very good season, barring that he has any injuries. So I think he has a very, very promising outlook. And if the Browns secondary can stay healthy for once, look out.
Yeah, agree. Again, a young secondary and a new secondary, kind of a lot of new pieces there, especially because Greedy Williams, we won't talk about, but obviously bringing in Troy Hill, John Johnson, who we'll get to, and then Denzel Ward, who kind of even the players that are on the team, they haven't kind of been there. So now a secondary that we'll see stay healthy. Look, Denzel Ward, like I said, he has the ceiling that all the good cornerbacks do. He's a really, really talented cornerback. Someone who, again, what I love about players like him and what I've talked about is he executes what the Browns want to do on defense very, very well. Going up against, you're going to be going with the Steelers twice a year. Whether or not Roethlisberger is good, you're still going up against 3 really, really talented receivers and young guys in Smith-Schuster, in Dante Johnson, and in Claypool. So it's about Denzel Ward. Again, you prove your status as a corner if you can week in and week out be that number one guy, go up against the best receivers and lock them down. That's why Jalen Ramsey and Jair Alexander are considered the best, because they can do that. Again, fantastic guy, a guy who has that kind of upside to get 5+ picks a year, but a very, very big fan of him. Now, Serge, we move on to possibly the scariest edge rusher in the National Football League, but what kind of edge rusher isn't scary? Myles Garrett. How do you put we said this with TJ Watt. How do you put an outlook on someone who gets that much production?
I think it's just scary, because now for the first time I feel like Myles Garrett is gonna have probably the most amount of help on the offensive line, obviously with adding players like Malik Jackson from Philadelphia, having Tommy Togiai, a rookie, of course adding Jadeveon Clowney and Takers McKinley. I think it's a much scarier defensive line, and I think Myles Garrett has consistently been able to produce, even if the Cleveland Browns defense has been average or below average. So I think Myles Garrett, I'm saying this barring injuries, I think he should definitely get 10 sacks this year at least. I think he should be in contention for the sack leader with the most sacks in the National Football League, because I think in terms of talent, in terms of ability, and in terms of where each player is in their career, I think no one matches toe for toe with Myles Garrett other than maybe TJ Watt or a healthy Nick Bosa, but we don't know if we're getting that this year.
Yeah, for me, I like Myles Garrett. I think there's a bit of a gap between him and like the cream of the crop edge rushers like a TJ Watt. I guess you can kind of count Aaron Donald now, since he played on the edge. Again, that's another one.
Yeah, he's more of a 3 technique.
Yeah, 3 technique guy, exactly. Garrett's someone talking about 3 technique. He can play 3 technique and play 4 technique. He kind of has that versatility. He has that speed, athleticism, and size, which you love in edge rushers. He can use power, several different kind of pass rushing moves that you love to see. Look, I would love to see him if he can get 15 sacks next year, put him up there with those guys. He hasn't yet, 13.5, 10, and 12. So he's gotten double digit the past 3 years. So again, fantastic production. And what I think is really underrated, he's fantastic at getting into the backfield and stopping the run, which you don't see from a ton of pass rushers. I guess, the top guys who the top guys who can do that. TJ Watt's fantastic at that. Aaron Donald's fantastic at that, whether you count him as an edge rusher. There's a lot of good. The best edge rushers can go into the backfield and get that. He's only 25. He'll turn 26 December 29th, so mid-season. But again, it's all set up for him. You won't be getting double teamed as much because Jadeveon Clowney, as much as he hasn't been good in the past years, he will get attention from offensive lines. Obviously, Tack McKinley, very, very high draft pick, someone who we know has potential. So Myles Garrett could expect, one-on-ones, and you're favoring him every single time unless it's, Ali Marpet or Quentin Nelson or the best offensive lineman. Exactly. But let's move on now to free agency, Surge. Generally, free agency trades. They didn't do any trades. We only have one player here. Again, we pick with a team like this, with the Browns, where there's so many good people, you have to kind of pick and choose. We pick one. It's John Johnson, Rams safety, arguably the steal of free agency. What do you think, Surge?
I really love this move. I think they got him on a very, very cheap deal. I think he's really going to come in and kind of help another young safety, Grant Delpit, who was drafted last year but had to sit out the entire season due to injury. And I think he's really going to be kind of that ball-hawking safety, that guy who really shows up and kind of brings a I don't want to be cheesy, say like winning mentality, considering that. But I want to say that, remember, he was part of the best defense in the National Football League with the Los Angeles Rams. And I think, obviously, with Cleveland, they have potential to be with one of the best defenses in the National Football League with all the talent around that they've accumulated. But they're not there yet. But to acquire someone like John Johnson, who has versatility as a strong safety, as a free safety, I really think this is a move that can really help Cleveland and definitely not hurt them. And I think, obviously, it's going to be a difficult transition with all these new players, with all these young players. And John Johnson even is only 25. But to get him only for a 3-year, $33 million deal, I think that's a very, very good deal. I think it'll help Cleveland in a big way.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic signing. Someone who has been a very underrated safety, was really, really good in that Super Bowl year for the Rams, and then kind of slid off a little bit. But he was playing on one of the best defenses in the National Football League, or the best last year. So again, it's just a smart signing. I mean, you made a signing that, first of all, you got a good deal, and you kind of, again, you'll see this kind of theme with the Browns. They were really smart in free agency and in the draft, and this offseason as a whole, they were really smart, and it just shows this new kind of regime that's gone into them with Stefanski, who's I think is one of the best coaches in the NFL. I just love the storyline because I've been saying all NFL teams go down, but they always go up. And it's so funny because I've been in that era where I've seen the Browns be terrible, and now to see them be good, it's just, obviously really fun to see. I mean, Serge, we'll see that with the Jets. We'll see that with the Jaguars. We'll see that with the Falcons. We'll see, even with my Giants, we'll see those teams kind of rise. We'll see the Bucs fall. I doubt the Chiefs fall since Mahomes is young. But, it's just, I love the storylines analysis, and that's the draft. Fantastic draft. Arguably the best drafting team. Steals on top of steals, and their first round selection, maybe not a steal but a good pick, another secondary weapon in Greg Newsome, can execute zone, execute man. Is there much to say, or does he just slide in and make an impact?
I'm not going to say he slides in immediately, even though obviously the Browns secondary was not very good last season. The reason for that is they already did draft a cornerback last year in Greedy Williams. You do have Denzel Ward. You also have a nickel cornerback in Troy Hill starting to line up more and more. I think I could see Greg Newsome having a very good season. He was very promising coming out of Northwestern. I could see him definitely as a year one starter. Very physical, has decent speed. I think he can play man-to-man. I think he was deserving of the first-round pick. But I think the problem is, again, he won't be as familiar with the system as a rookie cornerback, so I doubt he would start year one. But I think give him a little bit of time, and he will be scary as a cornerback. Him and Denzel Ward and Greedy Williams, that's a scary tandem.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was just so smart of the Browns. I mean, you have a classically injury-prone secondary, and you go get Greg Newsome, a pick that he was argued to go earlier, and he's really good. One of the more underrated guys, one of the more slept-on guys in the draft.
Yeah.
And 6'1", has that versatility, man, sticky to his man. He has that just playmaking ability. Someone who's aggressive and kind of fits that dog pound defense. You know, and I love the fit. I mean, this secondary, if it plans out, you have young talent, sky high talent players. Like this secondary in 2 years could be the best in the league by a mile. And I think Greg Newsome was a fantastic pick. So just move over to their arguably, not besides, you know, depending on how you look at it, arguably the steal of the draft in Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Yeah, so they got him in the second round, and someone who I had as my best linebacker. You know, we did a scouting report. To me, it was just like so mad as a Giants fan that we passed on him, and I'm sure as a Jets fan, you guys had a ton of picks, but he's someone who really, I mean, Mike, Will linebacker, you guys said in your scouting report, can play both. At Notre Dame, you know, he can line up in the slot. He has speed. His tackling is phenomenal. He's the kind of guy who can go in and have a Darius Leonard, Roquan Smith-like season, because it's a linebacking core that's not good. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah will start week 1 and will play week 1. He's a plug-and-play player, someone from Notre Dame that was fantastic there. I think it was a pick that they were so surprised, I think, to say the least, that he fell, and I think they were over the moon that they got him.
Oh, 100%. I think if it wasn't for the heart condition, which was mostly the main reason why he did fall, which thankfully he has been cleared by the doctors now, I think he would have easily gone the first round. I think he would have been a top 20 player, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Browns are getting, I might be easily the biggest steal of the draft. He, like you said, he is a plug-and-play player. I will see him playing at will start of the season, given that they do have Anthony Walker from the Colts. They did acquire in free agency to be their Mike linebacker, but I really like this player. He's intelligent, like you said. He's great in coverage. He's great in the box. You can play him alone. He sometimes would play alone in the box as that one.
Yeah,
he
exactly.
plays that one Mike linebacker, and maybe have 4 or 5 at the line of scrimmage. And he still found a way to really uplift that Notre Dame defense, and I really like. I mean, it's not that I like the fit. I think he fits anywhere, but I really love this pick. That, in my opinion, best pick of the second round, easily. So I think this is.
I think
even if the Browns didn't have any more picks, this was already an A draft. I think
he fits anywhere and in anything.
Exactly. Wait. Oh.
Best part of the video, I've been saying it every time, record predictions. Sir, let's just say it at once. Let's just say both of our record prediction at the same time, right? 3, 2, 1. 11-6. There we go. I think the reason why is 11-6 and Alex speaking on my behalf is that the Browns don't have the East Division. They have to play the Ravens twice. They have to play the Steelers twice, and improving Bengals team twice. They also have to go and play the NFC North. Like they have to play the Vikings, the Packers, the Lions, with the Bears, and then I think it's just, and of course you have to play Kansas City as well. You have to play the Chargers. It's like. I think, and I don't get me wrong, I think the Browns are better than a lot of those teams, but there's so many tough games on the road as well, a lot of traveling to do. I can see this being a very difficult, very, how do you say it, just like, and the season will take a toll on Cleveland. I think it's going to be, obviously they'll still be one of the best teams in the AFC, but I could see them going 11-6, but they'll definitely be better than their record indicates. I just think that given the amount of tough games that they're going to have to play in 2021, I'll go 11-6. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, the addition of that extra game is going to have a toll on every team. I think we're going to see a lot of better teams get more losses and a lot of bad teams get more wins. I think it'll be closer in division. I think the Bengals, I think they're an outside shout at not getting last because it's a good team. It's an improved team. But 11-6, again, to me, I think there's 6 games that are definitely losable. And, you know, again, it'll be a team that will get more than 10 wins, a fantastic coach, a quarterback who has proven something and will go to prove that he is finally that guy, a running back who's in all. They have everything, the line, the running back, the defense, or hopefully, I guess we're hoping the defense, bit of question marks there. But that was it for the video. We hope you did enjoy. Do make sure, as always, do subscribe to the channel if you made it to the end. I've been saying, if you watched all of that footage, you must have enjoyed. So do make sure to subscribe, comment down below. We live stream every single week, Q&As, different kinds of things. Basically, you can come to the chat. If you just like NFL, you want to talk about one of our videos, we respond to every single live comment. There's a live chat. You can talk to other people in the chat as well. And as well, follow us on social media at The Sports Scoop, Instagram, Twitter, and our TikTok to stay more in touch with us. You can always message us over there. And do make sure to give us a thumbs up. Key McDermott, Suraj Kadali, The Sports Scoop, the analysts of the future, giving you guys some of our predictions. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching.